In this part, we are going to cover return. And return is one of the most important concepts in all of programming. So let's talk about it. In the most basic sense, return is the glue that connects everything in Python. What that means is that any operation returns a value. For example, if we calculate 2 plus 2, a 4 is being returned. We also have functions and methods, and those can also return values. For example, upper returns the uppercase letters of a string. And by combining different return values, you are creating more complex logic. And what you are basically going to do in programming is combining different return values to create something more complex. And an example here could look something like this. Just read through this and try to think of what the outcome here is going to be. And let's go through this line step by step. We are always starting with the innermost part. In this case, it is a word. And then we are applying right now the first function, which is len. This is going to return a value, and the value it is going to return is 6, or the amount of letters inside of this word. And next up, this value we are going to multiply with -10. This again is going to return another value, -60. This is then going to return 60 because the absolute function always turns a negative number into a positive number. And this would be one example of the return statement, where we are taking specific functionalities like the len function here, and then use the value they return in another operation, like this 6 multiplied by -10. What you absolutely have to understand is that every operation in Python returns a value. And then this value you can combine with other operation, like using it in another function or with another method or in a math operation. It's really up to you. But this is a really powerful system that allows you to add lots of logic on a single line of code. Let's play around with this. I think that is going to be really important. Once more, completely empty Python file, and let me create a test variable. Let's use the example from the previous part, where we had a word, and then we used upper. Let me print it as well, and we are getting a word, all in uppercase letters. And I think I want to have a bit of white space around it. That makes my life a bit easier. What happened in here is we have a word, and then we are using the upper method to change the word. What this combined statement here returns is a word, all in uppercase letters. And once we have that, we can add another method to it. And the method we could be using here, the one we have already seen, let's use replace. And what we want to do in here is replace the letter A with the letter, let's say, X. And now if I run this, we have X word. What happened here is that this first statement returned a word. This one should be obvious by itself. After that, we have used the upper method to turn this a word into a word, all in uppercase letters. After that, we have used the replace method to change this A to an X. And we could continue this forever. For example, what we could be doing is wrap all of this inside of the len function. And now if I run this, we are getting 6. We start with a word, then we are turning all of this into uppercase letters, then we are changing the first letter from an A to an X. So what we have inside of these brackets is X word, all in uppercase letter. And what we do then is use the len method to count how many characters we have inside of this word, which right now is 6, and this is what we are storing inside of the variable. I hope this makes sense. It is a really important concept to understand. All it means is every time you perform some kind of operation, a different kind of value is being returned. And then this value is what you are working with next. You really have to be aware that every operation returns some kind of value, although this can be kind of weird sometimes. One really good example. Let me remove the white space here. And then let's play around with the print function, because this one by itself just prints whatever we pass inside. So what's going to happen when we print a print function? And let's see. We are getting 6 and none. The 6 we are getting from this inner part. And the none is what gets returned by a print statement. And none is an actual data type in Python. You can work with it, but it basically denotes the absence of a value. But again, print is returning something, although in this case, what it is returning is the data type none. I hope you get the idea here. Now for this part, I am not going to do an exercise, but I would recommend you to play around with this yourself in your own time and see what you can do yourself. Throughout this series, we are going to do a lot of examples, so there's plenty of time for practice.